Good afternoon. It's Jeneen from Jeneen C.A.R.E.S, where we are caring, achieving, restoring, empowering, and supporting our youth for the future. This next legacy leader has a very, very, very special place in my heart. She is one who was a mentee of mine, and now I've watched her be a mentor to students in my building at Ballenger Creek Middle School when I was principal there. And so I am just so, so proud of Miss Maya Massey, Spelman graduate, and she'll tell you more about her lifestyle and how she became who she is today. But Maya, I want to say thank you. I want you to know that I'm very, very proud of you. I remember you still as a 7th grade or 8th grade science student in my classroom with the braids and the color in the braids. And I'm like, she got flavor. Not only did she bring flavor, but she brought a lot of personality to my life. And so I appreciate you for the woman that I've watched you become, and for the community servant person that you are too, because you're doing a lot. I mean, you have a broad range of experiences traveling the world and such at such a young age. And so I'm glad that you accepted the opportunity to come and do a little community service for people in the community. And so thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so
yes. And so please tell us about your background and experiences, and how did you end up in Frederick as a teacher? Just give me your background.
Okay. But, thank you again. Thank you so much. I would say as a 7th grade student, 7th grade, 8th grade student, I didn't even think about moving forward with higher education. I was very combative, defensive, and I just felt like I knew the world. And so going into high school, I think one of the first things that helped me expand my thought would be the IB program, the International Baccalaureate program. I think that really started to sit in my life, and I started to look at things differently. And I had so many mentors in my life that encouraged that thought. I had you in my life. I had a close mentor of mine, Ms. Henry, in my life. And I just felt like I could do it if I had that support. So I pushed through with IB, and it led me down a crazy road where I ended up graduating as co-class president. And so that was something
wow.
for me where, just seeing all my classmates and everyone who I essentially grew up with, we're together, we're moving to the next chapter, and knowing that, building us back together is now my responsibility, right? Me and, a few of my classmates. But that was like the first brink of, okay, you can handle more than you really think you can. And so from there, I always tell this story because I think it's so funny. I didn't even know what Spelman was. And I had a counselor, Dr. Royce Wallace, who, sat me down, I would say it was end of sophomore year. And
nice, that's early, that's great.
Into junior year because of the International Baccalaureate program.
Okay.
It wasn't really on my mind, but I had no idea what most schools were. I knew the local schools, but, we really talked about it. And from there, that's kind of where the journey started. So I went to Spelman, graduated. You mentioned traveling abroad. I was so grateful to have 2 opportunities to go to other places and really immerse myself in different cultures, and that helped expand even more. And then from Spelman, coming back home was kind of a necessity because I wasn't really ready to step out on my own. And just looking locally for positions, I decided, a substitute. And I, knew teaching because of my mentors, really. I knew teaching in my life. It was most of my mentors, our teachers, are into education. So it seemed like a good fit. I had volunteered with George B. Thomas Learning Academy in high school. So I had seen bits and pieces of the educator's life perspective. And so it kind of felt like, okay, let's just go here because it feels right. And then that's when I, gratefully accepted the opportunity to teach at Ballenger Creek Middle School as a food science Lab 21 teacher. And from there, it's just been feeling right. It's just, it all feels like this is where I'm supposed to be, and giving back to my community is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm ready for the higher level, of course. As mentioned, I'm in grad school. I go to Mount St. Mary's University. Love the Mount, and just love staying in the community and helping where I'm from and helping those around me.
That's awesome. It's something when you feel like you're definitely walking in your purpose and you feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. And so that's an amazing feeling. I was supposed to be a pediatrician. And so I got into education because honestly, I was doing a little too much when I was at Howard on the yard. And, the MCAT, I should have been studying a little bit more intensely for the MCAT. Instead, I was like, oh, okay, let me try this. And so I understand that 7th grade mindset that you had was you were a little bit like, oh, I'm going to do me, and I don't know about y'all.
For a while, too. It wasn't, the Spelman, too. I was having fun.
Exactly. So, it just brings us to understanding and reflecting on our, resilience and focus and how we evolve as women in life over the years, and we learn from our experiences. And that is what restorative practices is all about. When we think about restorative practices, we're thinking about reflection, we're thinking about relationships, we're thinking about community. You talked a lot about your mentors in your community and how they were able to expose you to opportunities. I think with Jeneen C.A.R.E.S, that's exactly what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to help students in grades 8 through 12, and you talked about yourself as a middle school adolescent learner,
right.
And really I want a cohort of students where I'm able to like coach them from 8th grade to 12th in career or college and beyond. And so that's my goal with Jeneen C.A.R.E.S. I'm looking at starting a nonprofit organization with that, and really just having scholarship money and support and mentors who can coach those at-risk youth. And when we say at-risk, I'm talking about like anybody that has adverse childhood experiences, like, being in a single parent home, being a product of divorce, whatever it is, certain things that kind of build that resilience in students. So I have always been able to build relationships with all students, but I've really appreciated making an intentional effort to build relationships with those students who were like, leave me alone. And so that's always been a passion of mine. And I remember even being a assistant principal, a biology teacher at my second school, Paint Branch High School, and getting like food science. Honestly, it was like a food science class, like what you're teaching. First of all, let me say thank you to you for your flexibility, because as a principal, I was like, Maya, I need you to teach this, I need you to teach that. She was like, all right.
Loved it too.
Make it happen. So thank you for your flexibility. So now we're going to go into the restorative practices questions. And I say restorative, I mean reflection. So there's a lot going on in the world right now. There's a lot going on your personal plate in terms of grad school, teaching. What is something that you're thinking about often?
That's a good question. So I would say just naturally, often I'm thinking about the students a lot of the times, just because my responsibility is to keep up with my work, but I'm also keeping in my mind that they have a lot going on in their lives. So I think mostly as I've been working, I've been thinking about the students and just their well-being and hoping they're okay. Even in my messages, I'm always like, I hope you and your family are safe and well, just to really let them know that it's important to check in. But in my personal life, outside of work, I don't know, it's a lot of balance, I would say, that I'm struggling with. I wouldn't say it's the hardest thing I'm dealing with, but as far as managing my time appropriately and also the time to just go for walks or making sure I eat and, just keeping up with that maintenance, I think that's been a little difficult. And it's funny because I didn't realize how much time I didn't have before. And so all this time now, and these struggles are happening, and I'm wondering, what changed, right? Was it just we were all just on go and we never had time to really pause and say these are ways that we like to refresh and reflect, or is this just me not managing my time well? I don't know. So that's been something that's been on my mind, how to better manage my time.
Yeah, I can agree with you. I feel like I definitely probably have taken on more during the pause to stay busy. And it does feel like, whether it's virtual calendar or like just me doing things with family or friends, that it does seem like you have to find a balance with everything too. And so what I've been using is the pace of grace. I got that from one of the Whole Heart Wellness Centers on one of the healthcare seminars that I was on, just trying to keep mentally healthy and trying to be reflective in all that we're going through. And so they were saying, have a pace of grace at work, have a pace of grace with your family, have a pace of grace with your community. And what I take away from that is really like having boundaries and knowing when to say no, and knowing when it's time for you to prioritize your self-care so that you can continue to be that giver that you are and to be able to be present and available to others to help them. So of the things that, you know, you're balancing a lot, what do you think the hardest thing for you is though during this time?
You know what I would say the hardest thing is finding a hobby that I like to do. You know, it's like work. I read,
Yeah.
I love reading, I'll read, but you know, I've been thinking more about gardening, which is why I said food science was a great choice. I want to get out there, I want to get my hands dirty. And I also want to take my mind away from so much is happening, you know, with Black Lives Matter, you know, it's just so much energy just being thrown out in all different places. So I want to ground myself, and I've been thinking about gardening. I think that's a good, you know, hobby I've been thinking about.
I think that's a good one, and I think being in the Frederick area, that's great too. I know that a lot of the people that I've interviewed, a few of the people, not a lot, but mentioned gardening, and I have a really good friend, Misha Poor, who does that. I might connect you guys too. She's really like, she works at West Virginia as a head of like diversity, and she might be one. But I just see her doing things with pots and plants and stuff, and just colorful.
Yeah, got a little book like step by step what to do. You know, and it includes the bugs to look out for, and I'm like excited to get started with it because I think it's time. You know.
Yeah, one of the classes that I taught when I was a high school teacher at Paint Branch High School again was horticulture, and I have no kind of green thumb, but my master's thesis was in the impact of essential oils on thymus or something like that. So it was about plants. So somehow they had me teaching horticulture. And so that was the closest thing that I can tell you about gardening. And it's still, I was like, this is interesting. I'm glad I had a textbook and can read, right? But yeah, so good luck with that. That's definitely a cool hobby. I don't really have a lot of hobbies either, being a parent, being an administrator, being everything else in the world. So hobbies are good. So definitely let me know how that goes. Take some pictures and send it to me. You know I love pictures.
I will. I will. Thank you.
All right. So, I'm reflecting on you as a teacher at Ballenger Creek Middle School, and I'm looking at your door, your first year. You had this positive messages. Please take one on your door. And the students would come by and they would take them, and they were like positive messages. And so I know you're grounded in positivity, even when you go through things. So what are you doing right now to remain positive, to inspire and motivate your friends and family around you to be positive?
That's a great question. I am writing a lot. I love affirmations. I love just I am. I am creative. I am safe. I'm strong. I love just affirming things. So I write a lot. And I've noticed during this time period that I am a rock for a lot of people, so I'm listening.
I predicted that. I figured you would be.
I'm listening more, and I think that's the balance because I need to, share more as well. But I'm listening, and it's actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. Sometimes I don't want to hear all these different opinions, but for those around me, I'm definitely open, and it's helping because I'm trying to meditate more. So I'm really just staying positive and present. I think staying present is the easiest thing to do. There are so many moments where I'm like, what's today? Is today Sunday?
Yeah, right. Me too. Like, I can relate to that.
If I didn't have the calendar right there in front of me, I wouldn't know what's what. So
absolutely.
That's the best thing I can say. I'm just trying to stay present.
Losing track of time. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Okay. Because one of the things that I wanted to do, because you're kind of on the younger generation compared to the people that I have interviewed so far. So first of all, I am on a little bit of a vacation. I needed to have a mental, break from the reality of life in the world. And so right now I'm on vacation. But one thing that you and I both have in common is that we absolutely love music. And so I'm going to play a song that's a little bit of a song because it might not be the clean version that I've been listening to. So let me know if you can hear this.
Best life. Yeah. Living my best life. Made a couple L. So I'm living my best life. Made a couple L for my friends.
So that song really speaks to me. Cardi B is doing her thing, and she talks about her like as Dr. Michelle Obama would call it, her salty moments, and how, like, you know, she's still here, you know, and that's how I feel that I have had to persevere a lot of times in life. And so, you know, you talked about the thing that you're doing positive, and I think, what messages could you send to people to, like, envision that they're living their best life no matter what? You know, we are blessed, and our expectations, our gratitude should always be greater than our expectations no matter where we are. And I know you kind of believe that as well. So what messages would you send to parents? What messages would you send to, like, students who may be, like, feeling like you were as a 7th grader, or even you as a college student during this time?
Right. Well, that's a great question. Just, man, being patient and presence. I think with those two things, you can conquer anything, because they give the space for you to see things for what they are. So many times we just want so many things, and we keep moving and moving and going and going. And if you just were patient, just even a second longer.
I said, be still, be still. Yes.
Patient, or if you were even present to understand why you desire that so much, that it needs to be rushed. I think that's huge, especially as a adolescent, middle schooler. You know, it's funny, I want to mention that Leilani actually reached out to me not too long ago, and she's graduating this year, and, you know, she just gives us so much thanks for, you know, being patient and listening and being there. So I think that's someone that we both mentored, and, you know, I learned how to be a mentor through you. So it's interesting, but it's patience, and it's, you know, presence. It's awesome.
I will tell you that when I hired you, Maya, it was because of that answer right there. You were saying, so I think the question was, how do you make connections with, or relationships with students? And you were like, you know what? You just have to listen. I'll never forget that, because I think for me as an administrator, I'm always so busy in my head thinking about what the next move is, and predicting what people are thinking and what they're doing. There's always a lot going on in my mind, and I'm, you know, mentally gifted by nature. So I talk fast, I think fast, I'm always thinking. And so sometimes, you know, I notice that my areas of growth are what you're saying, like, be present and listen. So what I've been doing lately is taking notes when people are talking and replaying it in my head. I did that my first year as a principal, because I felt, you know, one, it shows people that you're really listening, but also you can go back and look at it later to reflect on the conversation. And so I love those two answers. What about parents?
I was going to say, the first thing you mentioned, though, like showing people that you're really listening, that's key. Because when you can recall back what people are saying and really check back in, like, how is your family? How is this going for you? I know you mentioned that's huge. So that's great. But parents, parents is patience with a capital P. I mean, I think it's a learning experience for everyone. You know, no one could have imagined this would happen to any of us. And there's, you know, we're so grateful to still be here, whereas there's so much going on. People, you know, aren't receiving proper burials. You know, people can't reach out to their loved ones. It's a lot happening. So parents, I would say, be patient with everything happening, because, you know, we are people learning as well. You know, we're excited for the new trainings that are to come, so we can conquer this, but we're still learning with them as well. So patience with the capital P.
All right. So I love that advice. Well, thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you for being in legacy leadership. One thing that we didn't talk about was the Girls with Pearls. I want to thank you for your leadership with that, because you had an instrumental role. I think it was my second year with the Girls with Pearls program and mentoring the youth, and you do a lot with community service. So thank you so much for all that you do for your family, for your community. And I wish you the very best of luck with your master's program. When are you scheduled to finish?
Yeah, I'm expected to finish fall 2020. So let's keep our fingers crossed.
All right. I'm excited about that. I know you will make it happen, and I look forward to an invitation to celebrate with you at some point.
Thank you.
All right. Once again, it's Jeneen from Jeneen C.A.R.E.S here with a mentee who is now a mentor to others, youth in the community, a teacher in Frederick County Public Schools, and a very dear person in my life. And so thank you, Maya Massey, for your time today. Again, we want to remind all of our scholars to lead. And lead for me now has developed from being leadership, empathy, achievement, and determination, which was at Ballenger Creek Middle School, to being learn all that you can do. You see that Maya is in her master's program. That's awesome. She's continuing that lifelong learning process. Empower others. Once you get to where you want to be, reach back and help somebody else along the way. And connect yourself with people that will empower you. She talked a lot about having mentors and coaches that helped her along the way. That's really important. Surround yourself with people who can empower you for greatness, to learn something from them. So lead by learning, empowering, and then you're going to act. But you have to have a plan before you can act. And so we want to be intentional, just as those students the 4 students in Frederick County who planned and skillfully organized a rally that really spoke to Black Lives Matters and had a program. It was a beautiful experience. And so you have to act with an action plan. Mm-hmm. And then finally, I need you to dream big, everyone. Make sure that you understand that no matter what your experiences were in life, no matter what your situation is right now, you can dream big, and we want you to succeed. And so thank you for being here again, Ms. Massey. I really appreciate your time, and I hope to connect with you soon about maybe doing something over the summer where we can cater to some of the things that you and I have in common with working with some girls or something like that. So, yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, have a great afternoon.
Have a wonderful vacation. Thank you
so much. Thank you.